in the county,
according to the
highest county
newspapers.
in the country.
Correct.
And I found that we're actually the 361st highest taxed county in the state. Nowhere near #1, Reed.
Well, we'll just have to call that lion old Dunkirk Preserver and tell them that they're off base.
I won't. I will say this, ma'am. I brought the sheet. Your county taxes rate has gone down in the last 4 years. Now, I will agree the value of property has gone up. We will have to raise taxes. I'm going to guess that probably we're going to have to raise $10 million. The best way to explain that to the public is for every $1 million that we raise real property taxes, it adds 16 cents per thousand of assessed valuation. So you can do the math. That's a simple scenario. And the reason I say I'm guessing $10 million is because we've eliminated 80 positions in county government, and we're probably going to have to fill half those for various mandatory programs. But I think the county executive has saved probably $5 million in his cuts, or he will have made $5 million worth of cuts. We've also got health care commitments. We've got pay increases for employees. And we've got JCC expenses. People forget of the jewel we have in Jamestown Community College. So those are just a few of the things that make up the $18 million. But to address the tax, that's what your county taxes are. It was $18.18 last year as your county tax. And that's all I can really talk about. And I think that's a pretty good bang for your buck for the amount of services that the county provides. I got my school taxes yesterday. I'm certain that a lot of people in this county got the school taxes. So if you start adding up all the taxes, I don't know as we're the most taxed. I've never gotten into that battle. I can only be straight with you folks and tell you what your county taxes are. And that's what I'm here to do, and that's why I'm here to help and explain how we arrive at that figure.
So if you had a caller, let's do this, for instance, if you had, say, a $40,000 house, that's a pretty cheap house here.
Yeah.
What would your tax increase be based on this, so per million and so much per million?
Well, 16, I guess I would look at that as being less than $100 a year, for example.
About a little less than 100.
Yeah, I guess on a $100,000 house, you would probably increase your taxes by at least $160 a year. So I didn't come prepared to do the math on that one. I'm just using an example.
Well, you said it would go up how much, 1,000?
About it takes 16 cents.
16 cents
to raise $1 million.
So that would be 160 cents for 10 million.
Yep.
Per thousand. If it's 40,000, that's well, say $50. That's all I come up with.
Yeah. So that's what I say. It sounds terrible, but here again, I think our tax rate is $18.18, and we can argue that back and forth because our value of our property has gone up some in the last few years. So you have to take that, but you got to look at the true tax rate.
Yeah. Okay, caller. Does that help?
Well, I was just questioning you saying that we're #1 and we're just not really.
I'm simply repeating what the Observer told us, and that's a nationwide basis.
#1, I believe, was Westchester County.
Well, okay, New York State you're talking about, yeah. Well, no, remember, Westchester County, in terms of their income is what we're talking about. Westchester County, the average income down there is in the 100,000 and up basis, and the homes down there run about $1 million. Real estate in the New York City area is extremely high. So yeah, they're going to pay more. Like Long Island, a house that you can buy here for say $50,000, you're going to pay $500,000 for. I'm not kidding. I just came from Long Island.
I'm also curious to know what the caller may think about the sales tax. You know, for every 1/4% we drop our sales tax, we lose a little over $3 million. And so I'm one that would rather see the sales tax up higher and leave the real property tax alone. But when you don't have the power to enact the sales tax increase or decrease, you need New York State home rule legislation.
You got to go through the legislature.
You got to go through the legislature. And so that's one thing, as our sales tax is scheduled to drop to 7.5% from 7.75 December 1st. We have requested that it stay at 7.75. I think it's highly unlikely it's going to do that because it has to be approved in New York, come back to the county. So that's also a way that we're suffering this $18 million budget deficit, is because we've got to drop a $3.25 million in our sales tax.
Which
So-
these are both very regressive taxes, however. It should come out of income tax, I believe. Because, you know, if you're paying a sales tax, I got to buy a certain number of pay tubes of toothpaste, as the super rich do too.
Yeah,
But that
yeah.
little few pennies that I pay might mean a lot to me, but to them it doesn't mean nothing.
But I think it's
So
important.
unfair.
I think it's important for myself and the legislature to come across is what we can really control.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna do anything with the income tax. We have to be honest with the people. The last thing that I want to send a message is we're trying to be like Albany or Washington. We're not trying to be dysfunctional. We're trying to work together as a body. And I'm here today, and hopefully more programs and more meetings to explain to people what we really have control over and what we really want to see in this county. And I think that people want to see the senior program taken care of. They want to see the veterans programs we maintain. They want to see their roads plowed. They want to see a police car going by. Carts, I mean, people say, well, carts, cut out carts. If we cut out carts, we'd have to then hire taxis to haul some of these people.
Yeah, if you are
to different
unable to get
places.
to the doctor,
Yeah.
the county has the responsibility to get you there under
Right,
Medicaid, if
right,
nothing else.
Right, and one thing I can speak for, if you've got questions on these programs, meet with our committees or the county executive. Now, I don't speak for the county executive, but I can certainly attest to the fact that he cares, just like every legislator on the legislature cares. They want to do what's right for this county. And so that's my point. Please ask questions, please call meetings, because we really sincerely want to get our message out and explain our situation here in Chautauqua County.
Yeah, well, thank you. I had Rudy on last couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
With a friend, and he's strong on consolidating things, like you
I
said,
agree.
consolidating.
I agree.
He wanted to consolidate, for instance, Lakewood and Bustye.
True.
It's like we got all these towns which only have one village in them. It seems absurd to have the separate government, separate buildings, separate everything, and of course that went down in flames.
Well, you know, consolidation.
Nobody wants to consolidate.
We certainly looking at consolidation. I've got a meeting coming up next week with the Jamestown people on the shared services between the county and the Jamestown Police Department.
Okay.
We're constantly looking at those things. But I remember Marty Bova, the mayor of here, first on the legislature, we talked about consolidation of fire districts. Well, that's got to come from the fire districts. The county cannot order you to do something, and here again, the last thing I want to do is for the county to come out and say, you will do this, you will do that. Am I afraid of having consolidation studies done? No, not at all. I will go wherever I need to go to do that. But people want information.
Well,
Back to Rudy, I think what he's done was he tried to be admirable, but people just didn't have enough information. They were very uncomfortable with what might happen.
yeah, they're not sure it's going to save taxes either.
So I learned from those things. People want a straight answer. They want to give it your best shot. And if we are to consolidate more school districts, people here again, I went through consolidation studies. People want straight answers, and the way it's set up, you can't really give them a straight answer because, well, what if, and all that.
There's a lot of what ifs. Well, also the
people I represent, I think they're pretty darn happy with their districts that they have.
I don't think they want to consolidate.
That's right.
At this point, it may save a few bucks, it may not. They even argue about that. I do know the consolidation of fire districts is really a nutty sort of idea, because the whole game plan, if you have a house on fire, is get there instantly.
Well, that's exactly
Or
right.
if the middle of town is burning down,
That's
you can't
exactly
wait for some fire department, which is 20 miles away, to come, because they'll never get there. The town will burn down to the ground before they get there.
But more and more your calls now are EMS calls.
And that's the same situation.
and I
if
know
a guy's had a heart attack,
You want him
he
there.
can't wait for 40 minutes for some ambulance to get there from a nearby county or a nearby town.
You're exactly right. But aren't you proud to be here and see when the whistle blows, DeWittville, wherever, Mayville takes off and goes. In Sherman, Finley Lake Sherman gets called out all the time for calls in Finley Lake because unfortunately they can't man it like they need to man it.
We have that, Fred, and I'll share something with you which you wouldn't be aware of.
I get to share everybody, aren't you, Reed?
Westfield, this is called mutual aid. If
Yes.
you can't get your ambulance up, you call mutual aid, and you do need, there's a bottleneck here, you need an EMT.
Yes.
And they're kind of scarce in some areas.
Yes.
And especially if they're working or if they're sound asleep and they've got to work, sleep for the next day. So I'll call out for the ambulance crew. We've got somebody with a heart attack who's unconscious and desperate need immediately, and we don't get anybody. We have to call mutual aid, which is usually Portland, which works with Brockton. So we'll call out there. I've been doing this for many, many, many years, and only one time has the mutual aid gotten there before we could finally get up an EMT and a crew. So it takes forever. You're talking 30 or 40 minutes to get a mutual aid there. You can get your own crew out if you have to within minutes usually.
Yep, usually.
So it doesn't, the mutual aid, it sounds great on paper, but believe me, there's very little effect, and especially when mutual aid gets up in the middle of the night. Portland, the chief goes down, he calls them out and everything. In the meantime, they get a crew, and on their way, they get a call. Westfield's got their EMT and ambulance, forget it. After a while, they don't even answer the phone. That's what's happening with mutual aid. God bless Mayville and everybody who are trying to make it work.
Yes,
but
they're doing their
you
best.
Depend on your, I'm telling you right now, you depend on your own fire department. For emergencies, medical emergency. You get an auto accident, somebody's bleeding to death on the ground. You can't wait for 40 minutes for mutual aid. Guys, Fred Croscut talking with us, giving us the inside dope on Chautauqua County. He has indicated that we're going to probably have a small tax increase, but we're going to just tough it out, right?
Well, we got to work towards our goal of closing that $18 million budget gap, possibly more. There's some other things that are into it. We thought we would have some more funding come in from the sale of electricity. That has been down. We have funds that we're going to look at, but here again, I do not want to see us have one-time shots in this budget because it's not looking that great down the road. But we've got to cut back, we've got to be more efficient, we've got to look at the dollars we have to work with in every fund. For example, we have what they call a GASB 45 fund. There's a GASB 45 fund. That is a fund set aside by your county government to take care of the needs of people that are going to retire in the future. Now, there's several $1 million in that fund, but we've built that fund up because it's a financial obligation that your county has. I don't want to see us take money out of that. But we need to look at that fund.
No, it's like Social Security.
Yeah, you're right.
There's a trust fund.
Yes, you're exactly
for Social Security, $8 trillion.
Right.
Congress has taken it all. They've wiped it out.
Well, we're not. That's just a fund. I'm using that example. Your roads and bridges. We have all the duties to take care of all the roads and bridges in the county. Here again, back to the same thing. There'll be cuts. There'll be efficiencies, but we just cannot eliminate.
You're not going to rob your retirement pensions.
Right. That's why I brought it up. But those are examples.
It's called white collar. It's called executive embezzlement.
Yeah. Well, we're not.
Which they've done in the Congress. They've embezzled all that money.
I just want to make it clear at the county level, there's no one involved in that kind of activity on your legislature in county government.
Well, if they are, they should be immediately thrown in jail over there with all the drug people that Joe's holding. I think
that's probably right. But those are some of the things we're faced with. I say we'll be coming out with our budget hearings next month. We encourage people to contact myself or anyone. And so that's one of the things that we want to talk about. The lake management plan. We have certainly got the committee to put some things down. It's based on proper science. But the key to it is we've got to have the buy-in from the local municipalities.
Now, what's the buy-in mean?
Well, you've got to have them endorse the plan too, because now we have a plan. We're worried about water quality. We're worried about runoff issues. We want to make sure we have recreational use. But we've got the economic impact. The money's going to take some money to do this, but we need community support.
So you got to have everybody in on this.
Yeah, and
it ain't going to happen if we like the bus tie Lakewood thing. You didn't have everybody in on that.
No, you didn't. But you know, we've got a great committee of people that have been working on this for over a year now.
Rudy Mueller has put a life into it. I mean, this guy really has worked hard for it.
And so we're going to go out and for example, the county's not going to come down as big brother and say you're going to do this. The county doesn't want to get into code enforcement zoning issues. That's why we need the local municipalities. Here again, I keep mentioning the Soil and Water Board. We have people at the County Soil and Water Board that go out and work with the town supervisors, town highway superintendents, and DEC to help them do these runoff, these willow projects, because one of the problems we have is soil erosion. So I'm just trying to use an example of what's in some of these things in this lake management plan that we need help from the village to the town to the county government. And it's going to be the communities around Chautauqua Lake that have the most to gain in this. Because if you've heard before, 26% of our county's wealth is around Chautauqua Lake. So, you know,
and more money comes in because of all the tourism.
Exactly.
These guys don't cost any money, but they sure as hell pay those
Right.
schnoz